What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Redemption with Jaden. We're here for round 2 of Lackey Grand Prix 15. Back to our Lackey games. Those were in the wrong order for you, weren't they? Oh, that hurt my brain. 15. I suppose I could just do like the classic 10 to 5. Anyways, I'm going to be revisiting the Ashkelon combo deck, but I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently this week by changing it to more of a Ashkelon control, I guess is kind of what I'm calling it, where I'm still trying to pull off the Ashkelon combo, but instead of trying to do it on turn 1, just being like an all-in, get the combo right away sort of deck, and if it fails, or if my opponent has a way to disrupt it, then I don't have a whole lot else as far as gameplay, or like a whole lot else going for me in the deck. So I'm changing it from that to now the deck is a little more balanced between combo and things that actually do things in battle and have an effect on the game if the combo falls through. And so the idea here is more getting it on turn 2 or 3, which does mean that I don't necessarily have to be in this offense. I think some people are already trying out the Ashkelon combo in decks kind of similar to this with a different offense where you can still pretty consistently get a captured character. You don't need cards like Joseph's Silver Cup and Judah's Intervention to do it. You could just rely on using stocks and maybe go into captivity, a few other options that are a little more versatile or broad, I guess, would be better. They can fit with other themes, and there are other themes that have things that are similar to Cup and Intervention where they can capture some of your own characters, I think. Although maybe not as much like capturing to a player. That's kind of what Cup and Intervention can help with. But yeah, I think that there are like even just stocks and the ways to get to Old Testament artifacts like Offering Your Son and Delivered really open this up a little more to being a flexible offense just with a Philistine defense, which the Philistine defense happens to be pretty good in the meta, and the Patriarch Sons of Jacob offense that I'm running here, it's a little hit or miss in my opinion. It can definitely be built better than what I'm doing here. I'm playing a few weird things just to maximize the Ashkelon potential, like to really kind of make sure that I get it on turn 2 or 3, and I'm not sure if that's the ideal way to play it or if it should be even more relaxed than this. I think that's kind of the third option between with the first two kind of being turn 1 going all in, turn 2 or 3 kind of being like this is I'm trying to kind of figure out what the game state is, kind of get my opponent settled in, and then hit him with the combo. And then version 3, or kind of the third option, is just I'm going to play a normal deck, but I'm going to put in stocks, I'm going to put in Ashkelon, and I'm going to put in Raiders Camp, or maybe Fortress of Antonia or Alexandrian Ship, or one of the ones that can hold captured humans and not just captured heroes like Raiders Camp does. So that is those are kind of the different options to explore. I don't know if I'm going to do the third one right away. I'll probably do it at some point, maybe with a different offense, just to try out something that's a little more I don't know, has a little more punch to it, or maybe a little more speed. I mean, even if you're just using like a Disciples offense that has maybe a few Old Testament pieces or heroes, humans specifically, I guess, splashed in, just so that you have options for to put into Ashkelon, or like for capturing. I guess they don't even have to be heroes. You could just be running aliens as one of your evil characters, and then capture it to yourself, and then you can have some other options. I mean, just like stocks, planning on or hoping your opponent has an OT character that you can capture. OT human you can capture. So I think that's kind of the third option, which might be better than like this turn 2 or 3 option. And I'm like, I think a lot of you probably already checked out the score from the game that you're about to see against Dave Smith, but if you haven't, I won't spoil too much, but it just kind of felt like if you're gonna go all in, that's probably, or that's better, because you're not really letting your opponent set up. If your opponent has a turn 1 Matthew, they can still kind of catch up if you combo against them. But if they have a turn 1 Matthew and you're not setting up the combo right away, then they're getting their hand protection established. They're getting their territory more established, and like the hand control is good. Like if you combo, that's good, but the deck isn't necessarily built to outpace card for card, I guess, to where if your opponent has a little bit of their game, even just a little bit of their game plan established, they might be able to still kind of capitalize on their deck being all focused on like the battle phase and getting set up, whereas our interests are a little more split with this version of the deck. And I think the two versions that are probably the most competitive are going to be either the all-in or the like it's really just a side thing. It's a feature of the deck, not necessarily a goal of the deck to pull it off. So you can, I don't know, I would say watch the game, try the deck out, see what other people are doing to build around it. Apparently Baboony Tim and his brother Andy played a version of the like all-in one, and then another kind of slightly modified version for teams at Northwest Regionals, and won the tournament with that. So the fact that Tim was able to get the combo right away in most of his games on turn 1, and the fact that Ashkelon hits both of your opponents makes it pretty solid in teams. So I was glad to see it have some success after the kind of a little bit of a sketchy game or performance against Jay. Like it certainly worked out well if you watched that video a couple weeks ago, but it seemed to be reliant a lot on Jay having a very awkward draw, and in this game, I think I would blame the version more than the gameplay, but also just things, and I wouldn't like discredit the deck too much just because of the way that the game went. I mean, you'll see how well Dave played, how his deck is constructed, kind of made things more challenging for sure. So I won't discredit the deck too much for that reason, but it just didn't quite feel like it was had the same potential, I guess, if I couldn't get a turn 1. I actually got pretty close to being able to on turn 1, but anyways, I'm not going to get into that too much yet. So some of the things that changed was just removing some of the consistency pieces that were a little more situational, or a little more awkward, I guess, if I already have the combo set up, like things that don't really have an impact on the game if I already have comboed. Things like Lingering in Sodom, or like already have comboed, or my opponent disrupted the combo somehow, like if they shipwreck my Ashkelon or something like that, or even just woes it. So like Lingering in Sodom got cut, like Prince of this World with the Shepherds and Grumbled, even Prosperity got cut. So in part because there just weren't as many cards that I would want to discard to it, and I'm not as much in a rush. I would rather have some more defensive Lost Souls, I guess. It was kind of one of the last cuts that I made for Displeased, actually, just because they're like Displeased is a kind of Lost Soul that I would like to have in the all-in version, because looking at your opponent's hand on turn 1 to see if they're going to have a piece of interaction with the combo is really nice, and I might not have the bandwidth to do that between like the territory class rule and just only having one artifact ability. So that kind of thing would making sure that the doors are open, I guess, is important for the all-in version. I would say it's also important for the for this turn 2 or 3 version, and perhaps even more so because I think they're more likely to have a piece of interaction. They've seen a few more cards. The things that they put down are going to be like characters and fortresses and that kind of stuff. But the things that they're going to have in hand still will be their dominance and I guess mostly dominance are the way that you could interact with it, but just making sure that the coast is clear, or making sure that I need to, or I guess seeing that I need to deal with this answer in their hand before doing the combo is helpful, because if I do get shut down, then it hurts a lot more kind of at that point in the game, if that makes sense. Like we're already a little bit developed into the game. There's not as much game left for me to kind of work around the combo. But yeah, I think that this deck needs a little bit more to do if the combo doesn't work, or even to capitalize on when the combo does work, as will be seen in the game. There's a little more defense now. I went a little more into the Philistine side of things. Took out Kings of the Earth, took out Golgotha, and I already mentioned Prince. The Cross came out with Golgotha just because I felt like I was able to put in some more answers to dominant stuff, like just things like Displeased and Betrayal and High Priest Plot, things that, and First Sacrifice moving to the main deck. All of these are ways that I'll be able to see what my opponent has going on before committing to the combo. And so I think that the Cross isn't as necessary. I think it still would be good, but I just couldn't justify the slot in this version of it, I guess. I don't know, maybe that was a mistake, but adding Philistine Commanders is just nice with as kind of an extra fuel to block, I guess, or it adds extra blocking power, and then also happens to be a way to set up the combo. So that was kind of nice. It was a little bit of adding some consistency, but also adding some battle potential. And since I'm not as keen on trying to get it set up on turn 1, then Commanders is a good way to help get there on turn 2 or 3 when I have an opportunity to block to help to set up the combo. That was kind of a lot of what I had initially in the deck, were just ways that could get to the combo pieces in battle, or with multiple territory class enhancements or something like that. And it just, that if you're all in, then you really have to spread your tutors across your potential activations of cards, I guess. So Lost Souls, you want to maximize those abilities. Star abilities, you want to maximize those. And then territory class enhancements, you want to be a little bit less of, because those are, you're only going to get one. Same thing with artifacts. You're only going to get, one artifact activation per turn. Anyway, I won't get into, I'll try not to get into too much of the weeds with that, but so that's just to kind of give you the general idea of how the deck shifted a little bit to have a little more battle stuff. I mentioned Betrayal and High Priest Plot coming in. Tendon's Kill the Sun coming in as well as just a very solid battle piece of interaction. Fortress of Antonia moved to reserve, so I could still grab it out with Surreptitious Scheme or Wages, or Crowd's Choice, I guess, if I need to. But I can do that on turn 2 or 3. I can, I'm not trying to get at everything on turn 1 necessarily. And then maybe the one other thing to mention here was kind of a gap that I noticed in the turn 1 version, was that I didn't have an answer for an evil woes that was played kind of in response to the combo. If you remember from my game with Jay, I was able to deal with his good woes after he used it to negate Ashkelon, because I didn't have a way to get it out of his hand or to check his hand and still get off the combo that turn. So I was just kind of hoping for the best there. But he was able to play that before I had a chance to interact with it. And if he had played it as evil, then I would have pretty much had no way to answer it, as far as I remember. I don't think, I think he would have been able to keep it there. But because he played it as good, I was able to use, I believe I ended up using Goliath's Curse, but Foreign Spears is also an answer. Since playing it as evil was something that I wouldn't really be able to deal with, I decided to add Noah, who can shuffle it. That's one way to answer it, but also then the Dove returns in reserve, which could be taken out by Storehouse and then used to just discard 3 woes from their territory, and can be used as a territory class enhancement. So I can do it in prep phase and then do the combo once woes is dealt with. So that might be something that could be added to the all-in version if you can find the space. Really, the only reason I didn't fully commit to it in the first all-in version was because I wanted the Patriarch unity for Gad. I think that if you're just making them discard a lot of cards, then trying to have some answers to anything they have to catch up is helpful, and Gad is just a good way to do it when I want mostly Sons of Jacob on the offense anyway, especially if I'm running the Cloud of Witnesses Joseph, who can make Gad CBN. That just seems like a strong play, but maybe it's not as worth it as I needed, or like as I thought it was. I don't know. Like, if your opponent's discarding a lot of cards, they're probably, the only way they're going to be catching up really is by drawing a lot of cards at once. Gad's only going to trigger based on the number of draw abilities used, not the number of cards drawn. So really they need something like a Matthew or a big, Damsel or Lying Prophet or Outsiders when I've got Noah out, that would trigger, or that would get them caught up enough, I guess, to make a difference. If they're just drawing 1 or 2 cards, then I think that's usually okay. And so Gad is good, but maybe not necessarily worth it. I've got a few ways to bounce Noah. I can also just capture him with stocks and use him for the combo or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. And I guess also having him with Covenant with Noah is kind of nice as another way to get Ruben out of reserve. So I ended up cutting Benjamin and Angel of the Winds, I believe. I added Noah, and then moving for Sacrifice to the main deck. So that is pretty much those were the main changes made. Lost Soul, as I mentioned before, got a little bit more defensive, like dull and distressed, ways to just kind of help me tutor defense as well as combo pieces, depending on the situation, and then also answering some of the things that disrupt the combo, like the neutral negates that people have. If I get distressed down first, and I can just kind of help get layers properly organized. And Wanderer I just thought was nice as a backup for getting Ashkelon triggers. You can put Wanderer in Ashkelon and then exchange, and then you get 2 triggers off of that. But it's also just nice to deal with certain Lost Souls that might be hindering the combo, such as the Crowd's Lost Soul, things that your opponent's going to have more time to get set up while I'm waiting to get all the combo pieces together. So anyways, the other thing to mention with the game, which I mentioned before, was against Dave Smith, who's got this pretty awesome Fools deck, Fools build that he's got, or it's like GOC, good stuff, like Choose the Blocker, Focus, I guess, with Fools, and it's a very solid deck. I'm excited to see how it works out for him in the rest of the Lackey Grand Prix here. But I will mention the game, or we recorded the game, played the game while I was not here, and I was using a different setup, and unfortunately the audio from his end did not come through, didn't get picked up on the recording. I was trying to set it up the same way that I have it here, but apparently didn't quite work out. So that means that I'm going to be talking for the next for the rest of the video here, just by myself, doing some commentary on the game as I watch the gameplay, trying to kind of recreate the interactions, or maybe some of the dialogue. I'm not going to recreate in like me trying to impersonate Dave's voice, but I will just be kind of going through, if I remember, sort of like, okay, here's what he was thinking at this point, here's what I was thinking. I could hear myself if I wanted to, but I'm going to try to do it without my audio, and just kind of hopefully I remember what's on there. Maybe I'll turn it on just so I can hear it, but I don't want to distract from my own commentary. So anyways, I'll be doing commentary on the game. So apologies to Dave for that, and also to you guys. I feel like there are pros and cons to getting commentary versus dialogue during the game. Some people like one over the other, so maybe you like it better this way, but I would have preferred to not have to do it, because I wasn't planning to until just now when I looked at the video footage, and it's not, that doesn't have his audio in there, and I was like, oh well, that's unfortunate. But as usual, before we get into the game, we're going to talk about our sponsors over at Your Turn Games, and we got pretty much all the way to the end of their kind of buy stuff. I started with the battle boxes a few weeks ago, but I do want to just point out they have singles, they've got booster packs and display boxes. Like, you can buy individual packs, or you can just buy a whole box that can like guarantee that you get an ultra rare from the set, or maybe even two, depending on which set you're buying, how big of a set it is, and how many ultra rares are in the set. So some of them will have two. You can get packs, I believe, of all rotation sets with roots in them, just like you can now with the Lackey update. You can draft those. Okay. Just so you know, Lackey's updated, but before you update, go check out my most recent video posted on Monday or Tuesday. It was very early in the morning on Tuesday, I believe, that it was put live. Before you update, check that out, because there are some things that you'd have to do to get your deck or get your decks recovered that you still want to use, just because some of the names had to change, blah blah blah. So anyways, back to Your Turn Games. They also have the newest starter decks, and then also complete sets. You can, if you want to skip the whole box opening or pack opening process, a lot of people get more excited, or it's more of a adrenaline or dopamine rush, whatever it is. When you're opening packs, you're excited to see what you got. That's always exciting. But if you're on the more practical side of things, and you just want to have one of every card from a particular set, or from all the sets, you can go to Your Turn Games, check out the complete sets, and these all look really cheap right here, but that's because those are just some options that they have. You can just get one of each common, you can get one of each common and rare, or you can get one of all of the cards without the ultra rare plus versions of the card, so it'll like just be the ultra rare, so it's really just one version of each card. Or you can get it with the like ultra rare plus cards, and these are expensive for sure, so it's a very much a commitment, but certain sets are going to be more accessible, or maybe more practical for getting, like, if you were to just get one set that you want to build your decks from, probably GOC is the way to go right now. But anyways, a lot of you probably are familiar with how that works, so I won't get into it too much. But yeah, complete sets and lots of other ways to buy cards over at Your Turn Games. Thanks to them for supporting this channel. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the game here. I'm going to speed through some parts of it that are, where there's not much going on, but the rest will, I'll just be doing some commentary throughout that. So, yeah. So, as I mentioned, Dave is running a Fools GOC Good Stuff deck, and the defense isn't just Fools. He's got got plenty of other just kind of like chump blocks and I mean not necessarily chump blocks, but just strong like solo blocks, so that the rest of his defense can be a little more compact, and his offense can utilize the fools there. I'm starting out with Lost Souls, Lost Soul, the Doll Lost Soul, and Wanderer, and Dave did not draw any Lost Souls, so that was a little bit unfortunate. But looking at my hand and also winning the die roll, I was kind of like, well, it doesn't really matter that he doesn't have Lost Souls because I don't have any heroes and I don't really have any other gas. So I choose to let him go first, hoping that all this defense in my hand can be put to good use to either start setting up the combo, well, I guess both start setting up the combo with like Philistine Commanders and Avenged, Betrayal to check his hand, but also to just get some blocks because Tenants is good and Armor Bearer is good to get me to Herdsman, all that jazz. But unfortunately, Dave has a few star abilities to activate here. The star ability on Peter is pretty nice to have here with Untouchable. Combos pretty well, where he can play a meek hero from deck, a meek disciple, I think. And then if he controls a meek hero, he can draw two. So you can order star abilities so that they activate in the order that you reveal them. So he was able to play his John the Fisherman and then draw two before the game even started, which is pretty good. He drew a Humble there. Then he also had a Conspiring Servants in his opening 8, so he was able to use the star ability on that to give me to give that to my territory, which is not something I want to see, because if he has any way to choose the blocker, then all of my defense there is not going to be put to any use. I decided to use Lost Souls to give myself a token there. I didn't necessarily do that just because he drew a Lost Soul, because like we can see, I didn't have much offense going anyway. I didn't really care if he had Lost Souls. Really, it was more because I had Tenants in my hand, and also I'd rather hang on to the other Lost Souls that I had. I had no shortage of Lost Souls available for him, so I'd rather be able to give him a token than to give him one of my Lost Souls that actually might do something later in the game. So having that meek Lost Soul token there is pretty nice, and the flexibility on Lost Souls to do that just really is what makes it, or part of what makes it a very strong card. So Dave goes with a Temple Veil here, and because he has John out, he can take a peek at my hand, and then he can just bounce his John so that it's not meek anymore. So like that was one of the best cards he could have had, like openings I think he could have had as far as star abilities, and then also Temple Veil to make sure that the path is clear for his attack, I guess, if he is able to utilize Conspiring Servants, which if you know anything about GOC good stuff decks these days, they're probably going to be able to do that. All right, so he plays Son of God here to get to a early lead. I mean, not necessarily to get to an early lead, but it puts him at an early advantage here, and he clears out that Doll Lost Soul so that he can use his Resurrection Revealer, and following Resurrection, as you may be able to predict, to search with impunity, search in peace, not be able to let me find a brown enhancement like a Scattered, which I wish was in here, but there's no reason to play it in a mono black deck. So yeah, he searches for Resurrection, plays it right away, and starts to get the stuff set up here. Grabs a Bethlehem Stable, get his hand protected, which is a little unfortunate, and then Joseph of Arimathea, which I was pretty sure that he was going to be able to find a choose the blocker hero somehow, but I kind of forgot that Joseph of Arimathea was an Empty Tomb hero, and so just getting to the Resurrection pulls it out, and it kind of made me realize that I think the play that I should have made here was Crowd's Choice to Vain Philosophy before he attacked, just because I had so much defense in my hand that anything I could do to make sure that he's unable to choose Conspiring Servants to block would have been to my advantage. Would have worked out well for me, but yeah, it just didn't. I didn't think of that in time. I was kind of hoping that I could use Crowd's Choice some other way to help get the block here, but yeah, unfortunately, between Joseph's convert and just the fact that I couldn't, or I didn't have an opportunity before he played Resurrection to do anything, then I didn't have a chance to do Crowd's Choice for a 3 woes or something to negate Resurrection Revealer or to negate Joseph of Arimathea after he does the choose the blocker. So the 3 heroes he bans in with the Resurrection are Peter, John, and Joseph of Arimathea. He uses Peter to play Herod's Temple from deck and doesn't ban to a Disciple. He draws 2 with John but doesn't have a Dominant to reveal, so he's not tossing the next, which is why Scattered would have been really nice here. And then Joseph, of course, chooses Conspiring Servants to block. I decided to look at my reserve just because it doesn't do anything in the first round. Just out of curiosity, if I had ended up putting anything in there for whatever reason. Dave chose not to make a token with his Lost Souls that he drew, but I made a token or another token off of it entering. I think he just didn't feel like giving himself one for any reason and didn't feel a need to give me another Meek Lost Soul, which he kind of for the opposite reason, or for the same reason, I guess, that I wanted to give myself more, so that I could keep my other Lost Souls safe. So the draw 3 here was a little strange, or a little awkward, I guess, as far as just still not really having any offense or options to even pretend to attack. I could Crowd's Choice to a hero here, but it didn't really seem worth it with my single battle winner of Faith of Noah. Like, I would rather just be patient with Crowd's Choice and find a combo piece when I'm ready to set that up. But I did recognize that Resurrection Revealer was going to need to be dealt with at some point if I wanted my stocks to work, if I wanted my Ashkelon to work, and because he didn't have another Gospel Angel in play, now was kind of my opportunity to use stocks to capture Resurrection Revealer. And then I just decided to get my hand down a little bit by using my territory class enhancement at least to start putting combo pieces together, because it seems like I'm definitely going to need it in order to stay in this game. So Pagan Sailors comes down as a Black Philistine. Avenged comes down to search for an evil OT fortress. I could go for either Raiders Camp or for Ashkelon here. In hindsight, I maybe should have just gone for Sheol, because having that add to battle against the Fools would have been very helpful. But I decided to go for combo pieces instead. Just kind of thinking that the Fools, I already lost or he already used one of them. What are the odds of him finding another one and drawing 3 cards? We'll see. So yeah, I put down Philistine Commanders just to get another card out of my hand. I don't want to make the combo pieces vulnerable yet, so did not want to put down Ashkelon. His hand was protected with Bethlehem Stable, so wasn't really worth putting down anyway to even try to get a couple triggers with Wanderer, especially because I don't have another way to empty it after he does that. So I just passed the turn here. Dave draws a Hopper, a Shepherds, and of course another Fool. Foolish Edomites. He activates the star ability to give it to me, and he gives me the Hopper and decides, I believe, not to use Shepherds in this case. He's already in pretty decent shape, I guess, as far as the game is looking. So I'm going to speed things up just a little bit here, and let's see. I do end up making a token, just one token off of the Lost Souls trigger. Let's see. He uses Bethlehem Stable to take Heavenly Host from his reserve, I believe. and then has Chamber of Angels from hand to he can move Heavenly Host into Chamber to make some tokens, and he does that 4 times, getting 4 Heavenly Host tokens and putting Chamber, or occupying Chamber with one of the tokens. Moves Temple Vale over to Herod's Temple. I did consider playing 3 woes here to, let's slow it back down to regular speed. I did consider playing 3 woes here to negate Heavenly Host before he got to make all the tokens. Or, I mean, I could have still done it now after he had made all the tokens, but I figured that it might be better off just waiting for him to go to battle to see if I could work out a block here. 3 woes to negate his Temple Veil, which he's about to. He just looked at my hand with it, and here now is where I use the 3 woes to negate Temple Veil to try to stop him from bouncing, or to undo his bounce of Joseph of Arimathea, in hopes that he doesn't have another way to choose Foolish Edomites to block. So we'll see if he figures that one out. If he has another option, I guess. But yeah, as tempting as it was to negate Heavenly Host to make sure that he doesn't go with Star, the fact that I didn't know whether or not he actually had Star of Bethlehem means that the better option is to try to stop his rescue potential. So that's where the Temple Veil is coming in. So he activates New Covenant here to go and grab a good Gospel enhancement. Grabs Redemption. Seeing that was kind of disappointing, because that probably, it means one of 2 things. It means either he, that's actually his best option for an enhancement, Battle Winner, which was probably not the case, or he had Star of Bethlehem, which is definitely the case, you can see is now the case. So he's able to draw 5, or he's able to activate 5 abilities, because he has Heavenly Host and 4 tokens, so 5 total Nativity heroes. But he has plenty of Meek heroes to trigger Untouchable, and then also he's going to protect the Meek heroes from evil cards until end of turn. This is a pretty solid combo that I think not a lot of people are playing, just because Star of Bethlehem isn't splashed as much as it was before. You're not seeing as much of the Heavenly Host Chamber thing. Mostly Star of Bethlehem is, I'm seeing it more in just dedicated Nativity decks. But yeah, now it's being or in Dave's case, he is running it in just kind of this GOC good stuff deck, and Redemption is a great star ability to be able to activate there. It's pretty similar to Flight into Egypt for Nativity, and also I Am He is and Faith Unbowed, effects like that where you can protect your characters with something played outside battle, so Interrupt the Battle doesn't work against it. He also activated the star ability on John the Fisherman to top deck a good dominant from his deck, which was the Second Coming. So he got that, and I believe he opted not to use the Prosperity Lost Soul that he drew, just because his hand was already pretty large. So he comes in with Mary here, so not choosing the blocker, which is exciting for me, that my woes to stop his Joseph bounce worked, and he didn't find another answer for it or he didn't find another choose the blocker option in the Star of Bethlehem draw. So that was nice, but it did still get him the protection with Redemption. So this Mary going into the Ascension from reserve play is still going to be pretty good. The fact that he's got Ascension, and I don't really have any ways to stop him from using that, because I can't do anything to Mary. She's protected from evil cards. So in this case, I just have to do the block, hope for the best. And I think I actually, so yeah, I guess here I go with Armor Bearer. I want to get a little bit of value here, so I had Foreign Spears to negate his Bethlehem Stable. It would have been nice if the discard part negated and discarded, but in order to deal with the Ascension, I was going to need to take it out of his hand, so he couldn't play it. And so I used Foreign Spears to just negate his Bethlehem Stable. And because it equips, it does actually move with Armor Bearer, so it's not wasting Foreign Spears. Like I can use it again at some point, but I did want to switch to something in my deck, so that did make a difference there as far as like I won't be able to equip it later. So I exchange with Saf in the main deck, and I do Crowd's Choice to go to my deck, playing it as Evil to grab Vain Philosophy, which now the Bethlehem Stable is negated. I can use that to underdeck the Ascension, but also just see what else Dave has going on in his hand. So I can see for offense, he's got the Ascension, he's got Untouchable, and he's got Redemption. So he's got some battle winners, but none of them that are CBN against Saf, or yeah, I guess Untouchable is only CBN against a Pharisee or Sadducee. So between my High Priest plot, my Tenants, like I should be able to win this battle, based on what I saw in his hand, which was kind of nice to have that comfort. But unfortunately, or somewhat fortunately actually, it kind of was interesting how this dynamic worked. The fact that he was protected from evil cards meant that this was a stalemate. So even though Mary is very small and Saf is very big, it was a stalemate. So Dave had to decide, like, okay, was it worth it to, or is it worth it to try to, win to play some enhancements here, or should I just pass and hope I don't get punished too much for it? So I decided to actually use my, or he decides to pass because his first enhancement is going to be prevented by Saf, so it just wasn't good enough value. Like he would have to use both of his enhancements, and then I'd only have to have one negate. So here I use Betrayal to just underdeck Bethlehem Stable. I kind of am looking at where my hand is at and thinking that I'm pretty close to being able to get the combo off. So I want this as a way to deal with his hand protection. Just so my woes is a little more free. I don't necessarily have to just put it on Bethlehem Stable. I can keep it on Temple Vale or move it to New Covenant or something like that. So Betrayal kind of opens it up a little more, and I wasn't really worried about anything in his hand. In hindsight, Herod's Temple might have been a better target in this case, because that would also take out his Temple Veil, which got him quite a bit of value throughout the game. And like it was already just kind of a threat at this point, because he kept on being able to see what was in my hand and predict his attacks. I'm not really running any hand protection in here. Not predict his attacks, but plan out his attacks with perfect information. So yeah, it was definitely I think a slight misplay here, not going to Herod's Temple instead, and also I didn't recognize that he could use Herod's Temple to stop me from playing more cards. Like if I could have played my High Priest plot here to reserve his Second Coming from hand, that would have been very cool. But he saw the line of activating his Herod's Temple to toss enhancements. He reserved the top card of his deck, which was Hunter, so that went into play, and he was able to then stop me from getting any more value from playing enhancements. I think I was kind of at the point where I was thinking about just passing anyway, saving High Priest plot for something to deal with another thing to set up the combo here. Because I already had stocks to do a capture, I had Ashkelon, and I drew into Raiders Camp with Betrayal, so I had all the pieces. I just needed a hero to draw into, and so I was thinking it would be good to save High Priest plot for just another layer on my turn to make sure that he didn't have a way to interact. But he just opted to play the Second Coming here to get his Son of God back, and so I wasn't sure necessarily when I was going to need to use High Priest plot, or if I was at all. I don't know. So we'll see that it actually kind of worked out a little bit here, because he does use Delivered in his discard phase to activate 4 Drachma Coin. Oh, and I did end up just tossing my Stricken to take out Mary, just because I figured that could get annoying later. Might as well just take her out. She was protected only from evil cards, and so because Herod's Temple was doing the toss, or had the toss ability, then she was not protected from that. Seems a little counterintuitive, but even though it's my card being tossed, the toss ability is on Herod's Temple, so she was not protected. Or at least that's the way that we understood it at the time. We did kind of talk about it a little bit, like, is that actually how it works? We're pretty sure, but you can let me know in the comments if we were wrong. So Dave has to get a few cards out of his hand to get down to 8 for the end of the turn here. So he puts down Trapping Pharisees and also Outsiders, and didn't realize that because I didn't have any good card or good brigades in play, that Outsiders actually dies because of that. Its numbers are XX, where X is the number of opponents' good brigades. If you ever have a character with 0 toughness, it gets discarded by game rule, and so even in territory, putting down Outsiders while your opponent has no heroes out, Outsiders is going to die. Or even if you use Outsiders to underdeck all of your opponent's heroes in play, then Outsiders would die or just after that resolves by just by game rule. So that is something that he didn't realize at the time, but he was also like, it doesn't really matter. I had to get stuff out of my hand anyway, so Outsiders was discarded. All right, I did find myself in Issachar. I moved my 3 woes in my upkeep to 4 Drachma Coin to take out his hand protection, because I had the option. So there were a couple plays I could have made here. One of them was stick with stocks, use it to capture my Issachar and get the captured character that way. The other was play the and still have a territory class enhancement option open. The other was use Faith of Noah as my territory class enhancement to grab Joseph's Silver Cup and hope to find another hero, because I could use Joseph's Silver Cup to do the capture, but then I wouldn't be able to capitalize on the hand discarding that I'm doing, and I'm already down 2-0 with him having Son of God in hand, so I needed a little more gas to go. What I didn't realize at the time is that I should have just played High Priest plot to take out his Son of God, because he has every opportunity right now to play Son of God before on my Issachar before I can occupy Ashkelon and get the discards. We talked about this a little bit later on, which you're not going to be able to hear, so I'll tell you now. He was kind of he did think about it, but I guess he wasn't sure at this point when I wanted to occupy Ashkelon with Issachar. He wasn't sure if I had the Raiders camp or not, and he was thinking, just doing the one discard was fine. And then I think later he just wasn't sure if it was better or not to just save Son of God for something that could impact his rescue, just because he was already ahead a little bit. So I think in hindsight he was saying that he should have just played Son of God there, but there were kind of some reasons for not doing so, for being a little more patient with it, and it seemed like it was okay for him. So he ended up discarding Untouchable, Distressing People, Plot to Kill, and one other card that I don't remember. Oh, he discarded Redemption first. That's right. So I cleared out 4 of the cards in his hand, leaving him with 4 others. One of them being Son of God, as we know. The others I think we knew as well, but I didn't quite remember. Got a little lucky off of the Joe's Silver Cup, which in finding heroes, there were actually 2 in there, both Noah and Abraham. Abraham being kind of the best one that gave me a draw 3. Okay, here's his hand. So Son of God, Scattered Sheep, Deceiver, and Falling Away. Unfortunately, good options for him for blocking here. So Falling Away would have been able to take out my Abraham. But yeah, so I think the right play would have been just using High Priest plot, reserving a Son of God, pulling off the combo safely, and then just hoping I could hold him off with the blocking, choose the blocker kind of stuff. Unfortunately, but I mean, I guess part of it, he had Simon sitting there in territory, so he would have a choose the blocker option anyway. So I kind of needed to apply some pressure on offense, and so that's why I ended up going with that play. But as you can see, he didn't need to use Falling Away here. He had Deceiver to go to Foreign Wives in reserve, and because I had done the drawing from Abraham, then that was a block, something, or that was an option, or an easy block for him, I guess. I played my first sacrifice just to clear out Falling Away, just in hopes of being able to make the way for next turn, because I did have Judah and territories nice and big and then out of their hands in hand, so maybe I could just win by the numbers if I take out his Scattered Sheep or something like that. But mostly I just wanted to get that, get the Falling Away out of there, because for one, I mean, he could use it on offense too. He could use it offensively to take out my Judah and then choose it to block. But two, he could use it defensively. Just a fair trade here. I've got plenty of territory class enhancements that I want to use in territory, so first sacrifice in battle felt decent there. Try to get at least some sort of benefit from that battle. And he went with the Bethlehem Stable. He found that again, put that back down, so it made my combo a little more difficult to deal with, because I was going to need to negate Stable and 4 Drachmacoin here, which High Priest plot can deal with Stable for the phase, but 4 Drachmacoin, and then Woes can stay on 4 Drachmacoin, so there are options there. But he was able to bounce his Joseph with something. Oh, that's right. This is his turn now. Yeah, okay. That's right. He is just, because I had to move my Woes to his 4 Drachmacoin, he was able to bounce Joseph with Temple Veil. He used New Covenant to grab Lost Child Found from reserve. And unfortunately, this is where things really started falling apart, because he realized he would be able to bounce his Resurrection Revealer that was captured, because captured non-humans are not considered lost souls that can't be redeemed. They're technically not even in the land of bondage. They're just kind of in limbo. So they're in territory, but not like in a specific zone, I guess. And they're not heroes. I think they're still captured, but yeah, it's kind of weird. Basically, it's just a lot of language there to make sure that they're not redeemed, just because theologically that doesn't quite work, I guess. I mean, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, so anyways, long story short, his Lost Child Found bounces up to 3 other cards except Dominance, so it can still bounce captured non-humans. And so Peter gets bounced and Resurrection Revealer gets bounced, and he's able to put Resurrection Revealer back down, which is really not good news for me, because negates my Ashkelon. So I have 3 different things in his territory that I needed to negate in order to continue to combo here. And that's all while he's about to attack for his 3rd Lost Soul with Son of God still in his hand. I guess, okay, the reason that I didn't actually realize at the time, some of you may have already noticed and started typing in the comments, my High Priest plot in territory to take out his Son of God would not have worked because of Chamber of Angels. That's something that I'm going to realize the hard way next turn. But I kind of forgot that Chamber of Angels was sitting there. It is kind of hidden under his Heavenly Host token, but the only reason that Heavenly Host token is over there and not with his other tokens is because Chamber was there. I'm not faulting him at all for that. I should have remembered. So Joseph is coming out, choosing Foolish Edomites to block. He didn't have any banding or anything, and so it did end up being... or that's right, yeah, it wasn't stalemate, because Joseph is exactly an 8-3 when he converts, and Foolish Edomites is a 1/8. So he's got me exactly by the numbers there. I had already used my betrayal, so I didn't have anything to play on Foolish Edomites, so I hand over another meek token after losing by the numbers in battle resolution there. Dave was wondering if the ability on Foolish Edomite still triggers. I believe it does, because it was still discarded even though it was in battle resolution. So the abilities that trigger off of it being discarded can still happen, as long as they're not like an add to battle ability. I don't know why I'm wearing my headphones. I'm not actually listening to the audio from the game, from my side of it. Anyways, so yeah, we both got to resurrect a hero, which was kind of nice. I got my Abraham back, but with that foreign wife sitting in territory, it was just it didn't matter a whole lot. There were a couple different misplays in this turn from me. So I drew my Lawless. It's negated by Resurrection Revealer, so not doing that was not a misplay. But playing my High Priest plot here was, in fact, a misplay, because even though I do get the look at his hand, and I get to reserve woes for a very brief time, I do forget, or he does realize that I have Chamber out, and that should have been negated. So we'll get to that shortly here. Fortunately, it didn't really matter that I knew what he had in his hand, because I misplayed my attack anyway. So yeah, here's where we're realizing it. High Priest plot is negated. Woes is still in his hand, which means I'm not going to be able to get the combo off anyway. So yeah, there was pretty much nothing I was going to be able to do to get the discards here, which he only had 5 cards in hand. So if I could have reserved his woes and found a way to deal with Stable and Resurrection Revealer, then I could have gotten there. But yeah, I don't think dealing with both of them was going to happen this turn anyway. So we're kind of figuring out, or undoing the things, and I'm just kind of trying to think here of what I could actually do in this game. Try to at least get on the board before Dave comes in, likely for the win next turn, or see if I can figure out how to finagle a block. But yeah, I put down my Gad, which ends up being a mistake here. It's not a huge mistake, because I think Dave could have blocked differently anyway and gotten the block, because I do go out with Zebulon and decide to draw 2, which I was kind of thinking, like, I honestly wasn't thinking about foreign wives when I was pushing Zebulon into battle, but I think I needed it anyway. Like, really, I should have just attacked with Abraham to get the draw 3, just to try to help guarantee my my block a little more. But actually, this does kind of work out well enough, because being able to use out of their hands to take out his 3 woes is decent to help me get, or have a block option. So taking out his 3 woes so that I can maybe combo next turn, or at least get a block on his turn, then that's kind of the way to go. He does have Trappers and reveals Tenants Kill the Sun. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to work. Or even though I was restricting enhancements, Zebulon was stopping, or would have stopped him, but I would have just ended up in stalemate if I discarded my Judah's Intervention. And so that was the misplay with Gad, is that I actually should have just kept Gad in my hand. Dave had already drawn so many cards that having Gad's ability on didn't really matter. He wasn't going to be drawing that many cards at this point. So yeah, I should have kept Gad in hand, had him available to discard 2 Trappers, and then I would have been able to win that battle and get on the board. But yeah, Dave could have also just blocked with Foreign Wives there and still gotten the block. I think he maybe either forgot that I had drawn cards, or he just was anticipating that because I had drawn, I had an answer to Foreign Wives, which I did not. I was just being silly. So I pass the turn. Dave activates the star ability on Love One Another, which allows him to discard an evil card from my reserve. I was very grateful that he did not go with Pagan Sailors at the moment, because I was thinking that my activating an artifact would work with Pagan Sailors to activate stocks and then capture his hero, forgetting that Resurrection Revealer was negating my neutrals at the time. So he did discard my Goliath, which um, I wasn't too concerned about, because I still had Armor Bearer in deck and could go back to Goliath if I really needed to. So Deceiver to Armor Bearer to Goliath. So that's why I was happy that Pagan Sailors survived, just so that I would have that option available. Here he uses the Annunciation to go and grab his Crowd's Choice, in which he plays then as Evil to go and grab back his Falling Away. I was kind of joking here of like, oh, you've already played so many dominants, like, what could you need Annunciation for? And I was like, oh yeah, I underdecked 2 of your dominants. So Crowd's Choice to go and get his Falling Away. Spell's pretty bad for me here, because he can just convert one of my heroes, make the play that I mentioned earlier that I was trying to stop with that first sacrifice, and convert one of my heroes to a brigade that I don't have, which he's able to confirm with Temple Veil there, looking at my hand. If I had gotten lucky, then he would have not been able to look at my hand, or like if I had some kind of protection, he would have been able to not look at my hand. If I had gotten lucky, he would have named like Evil Gold or something, so I could use Foreign Spears or Delivered or something. But it didn't really matter. I wasn't going to get initiative anyway. New Covenant went to reserve before he attacked to grab Authority of Christ. St. Simon comes in to clear the way with Judah and Authority of Christ. Dave gets the 4th Lost Soul here, and then plays Son of God to finish it off for the 5-0 win, which felt a little bad. It was I mean, these kind of losses don't feel that bad, because I mean, for one, I mean, like it was 5-0, so it was a little brutal. Like it was like, oh, that it kind of didn't even get on the board. Didn't. I don't know. There's that aspect of it that is bad, but I felt like I played fairly well, and that's why I didn't really feel too bad about the loss. There weren't any like significant misplays or other things I could have done, because really I just didn't even get to use my defense. Like I got to use I got my 1 block with the Saf play, that Saf with Crowd's Choice and Vain Philosophy, and that was a heads up play that I was proud of, like able to stop a protected Mary that had just gotten the Ascension from reserve, and so that was pretty nice or that felt good, I guess, or it was one of the redeeming qualities of this game, that I was able to get at least 1 block there, but the rest of them, I wasn't even using my defense. The one thing I mentioned before that I maybe could have felt a little bad about was not having or not searching for Sheol on that first turn when I had the option to with Avenged. I put down Pagan Sailors, use Avenged to search for Ashkelon to just try to set up the combo, and there's good reason for that. I did end up getting to use the combo to discard 4 of his cards from hand, which was nice, and eventually if I could have kept doing that, made it stick, and actually used my defense, then that would have I think helped me get the game back on track in my direction. But the just the way that his deck works, having that add to battle from Sheol definitely would have put in more work, I think, than Ashkelon did by the end of it. He might have had a way to answer it or deal with it. So, there's that for sure. I mean, we saw that he had 3 woes at some point. I'm not sure when exactly, if he had that on turn 2 or not. But yeah, as you can see, we're just kind of talking about the game here, things that could have been, or things we could have played differently, options that he had. I pointed out that I didn't find my Joseph or my Storehouse, so the Temple Veil, looking at my hand, didn't really matter. Like I think the coast was pretty much clear for him on every attack where he could choose the blocker, but the fact that he didn't really have to think about it even, and didn't have to consider, oh, what if he has a dominant, maybe I should band, and maybe do my lone rescue or my lone hero with his choose the blocker isn't the best option because he could have a dominant. Then he didn't even have to think about that, consider other options, whereas if I had my storehouse out, then that would have been something that he would have had to think about more. I would have been getting value from storehouse, actually taking stuff from my reserve. Yeah, that was kind of just something that this game showed, is that I really wasn't able to get the value that I needed in order to try to keep up, and I was able to get up the combo eventually, but I guess I'll just pause it here so I'm not distracting myself. I was able to get off the combo eventually, and that was good. I think it would have been good if I was able to keep it going, and if I was able to actually use my defense for blocks. And so I won't discount this game entirely, or won't say like, oh, this deck is terrible just because it has this pretty rough 5-0 loss. Like I hope it makes sense to you as well, or it's evident to you watching, to that you can recognize some of these types of games where, like, oh, it was a tough loss, my deck didn't do what I wanted it to do, but it wasn't necessarily the fault of the deck. They're like, your opponent just played really well, had a average or above average draw, and there just wasn't much that you could do. I feel pretty good about that, as far as like not making too many misplays. Of course, the High Priest plot thing was one of them, or maybe not underdecking Herod's Temple, but those are things that, like, I don't necessarily expect myself to see the first time around, especially playing a weird deck like this. Like, maybe later on with more practice with the deck, or more being in a similar situation. Like, how often are you in a stalemate against Mary when your opponent like doesn't want you to play stuff, but they don't have anything to play? Like, that's it's not something that comes up super often. And recognizing the Herod's Temple play there was really just a good play by him, and something that if I was a little more heads up about, then I could have prevented that, or stopped that from stopping me. So that would have been pretty good, if I had recognized that. But yeah, overall, happy with how the game went. Happy with how the deck like performed, in the sense that I got off the combo kind of as I was hoping to, and I did have pretty decent ways to answer his protection, or his layers of interaction. Like, I was able to underdeck his 3 woes. I was able to capture his Resurrection Revealer. My Betrayal and High Priest plot, Betrayal did things. High Priest plot would have done things. So there were definitely some enough. I think there was enough interaction here to make the combo work, but there were still just some things about the deck that were lacking on the kind of follow through, making sure that I could actually go somewhere with the offense, which, that was just kind of a weird draw, not finding any of the offense early to apply any early pressure. And so, that, games like that surely happen. I'm happy to be able to share it, and maybe you can have a little more sympathy for me if you are into that. Some people, I think, just enjoy seeing me lose, and that's understandable. I like to lose once in a while, actually, just to learn a few things, and I definitely learned some things from this game. So, great game to Dave. Thank you for thanks to him. Not that he really had a choice in playing me. We got scheduled together, but definitely opened up some ideas for improvements with this deck, or just any deck in general. Seeing that, you have to have some add to battle for instances like this, like having the fools on 2 of his 3 attacks, where I just wasn't able to do anything, is pretty good. As kind of like the demon choose the blocker thing that I had been doing a while back, kind of last season, where you'd give them the demon tokens and then choose them to block. So pretty similar concept there with the fools. It's something that I played with a little bit, an idea that I played with a little bit last season as well. I think I called the deck like Choose the Fool. I don't remember what I called the video exactly, but it was more of an Old Testament choose the blocker thing, like Elijah, I think maybe Zacchaeus, so not all Old Testament, but like more the green gold stuff. And it seems like Dave has kind of taken that idea. I don't know if it came from what I was doing, or not trying to take credit for that or anything, but he's definitely kind of perfected. Maybe perfected is too strong of a word, but it kind of seems like it. He's very finely tuned this strategy with having Simon, having Joseph coming out with the resurrection, getting all the value there with resurrection, and the GOC is obviously just has some very good offensive combos or synergies, and the fact that he can run it with Matthew and all that kind of stuff. But just the way that the deck, or the way that he's got the deck set up, I think it's just very well tuned. It's a well oiled machine, I guess, of getting to exploit or utilize the fools and giving them to your opponent to block. So that, I think, is very solid, and that's why Joseph actually works with this, because and Joseph didn't work with the demons. Joseph only chooses humans to block, similar with Elijah. So Simon and Zacchaeus are the ones that just choose any evil character, but with the fools, they can be chosen with Joseph, and so that's why I think his deck works as well as it does, like consistently, is because instead of doing the demons, he's doing the fools. So anyway, all that to say, props to Dave. Wish him well with the rest of the Lackey Grand Prix. I believe he's going up against Joe Mama this week, so we'll see how that matchup goes, if it's not done by the time you are watching this video. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for watching. We'll catch you all next time.